Hey there, it's Jessica with a quick Google tutorial and getting started with your digital classroom. And these are all some short, quick tutorials to help you get things up and running and to set some foundational understanding of using digital resources in your classroom. So this video is getting started with Google Apps. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about Google Slides. So I'm going to actually use this one and Google Docs. Whoops. Okay. So I'm only going to talk about these two, and I will talk about Google Forms in a different video. So right now you can see that I'm using a Google Slide. So Google Slides are like a PowerPoint, and so what they are is a presentation. But what is really amazing about them is that students can interact with them and submit work to you and do different activities, and they can be very, very interactive. Google Docs is like the Microsoft Word version of a Google app. Okay, it was kind of bothering me that those were all the same colors, and I didn't feel like that was very clear. So Google Slides. Google Slides is definitely one of my favorite ways to present information as far as Google Apps goes. Google Docs is a way that I kind of use to share information with other teachers or with or keep track of like different processes I might have. It would be great to use in writing, and I can show you a couple different ways with that. But Google Slides is probably one of the most common way that you will present resources to your students. So, for example, I'm going to show you this is actually, I'm going to not show you that. I'm going to pause this and pull up another one. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of the at-home learning packets that is actually a digital version, and I'm going to I'm going to show you step by step everything that I do so that you can learn how to do that yourself. So one of the things that you might want to do is if you ever need to make a copy of something or you need to do anything with the documents, then you're going to right click and you'll have a menu that pops up. So one thing that I use a lot is make a copy. So I'm going to make a copy of this, and it will pop up after it finishes making a copy. And you can see down here it's working, and it will show up as copy of at-home learning packet. So this is independent. I can make any changes, and I'm not going to mess with my original one. So then you can rename it. So let's say I'm going to call this test drive home learning packet. And now I can just play with it like a little sandbox. So this is what students would get if they had the at-home learning packet. And so it's like a slide and a presentation. So inside, students there's green text boxes, and I try to, in all of my resources, as much as possible, put the click to add text. However, if it's not there, then it will be that I have some other strategies that I use. But also the more students work with these, the more that they will kind of become accustomed to that their job is to type inside the text boxes. So this is my at-home learning packet. So I'm going to type my name. This is I don't want to do all capital letters. So Jessica Meyer, and I'm going to get started. So here I can read the article about giant pandas, and then I have some questions, and I can answer the questions inside the text boxes. What does the word insatiable mean? Having a really large appetite. And then, so you can see, I can just type in the text boxes. So the other thing that you can do, like if you have other resources or you want, whoops, that's a little bit off. If you have other resources or that you kind of want to maybe either scaffold something for your students, or you need to support them or provide a little bit extra more. One thing that I tried to do, especially in the math. Like it doesn't say click to type here. So I put a little tip for students that you can type in the green boxes to show the number. So they can just click there and then type. So 6 times 5 equals 30. And if I'm a student, I probably want to zoom in a little bit too, but just to keep in mind. So that's one thing. And then the other part that I wanted to show you, one thing I really love about Google Slides is that you can have students drag. So this is great for a cause and effect chart. Instead of having them type everything, you can have them complete a cause and effect chart like so. And I'm sure that these answers are, I'm sure that I'm going to get 100 because I'm thinking so hard about this. But that's what's nice too, is it's definitely more interactive. And then find some other interesting ways to use this. For multiple choice, like a lot of times, like if you're converting something to a Google slide and it's multiple choice, you can either have them, you can have a box there to pull and highlight, or you can just have a box to put the letter so that as a teacher, you can kind of easily check it too. So you can kind of just see like how there's just text boxes. So in some ways you can take just a regular, for lack of a better word, worksheet and convert it into an interactive like digital document. But it also, there's a lot of opportunity for more like interactive, like dragging and sorting and things like that. So, for example, here's a highlight tool that you could also have students use, and all of it. Before I'll show you why it's there, and then how to make one if you wanted to make one, because it's definitely one of those that I use a lot, and it's an easy tool to add in there. So, for example, color all of the expressions that have a value of 5, so 25 divided by 5. And then there's a little tip here, copy and paste the yellow box, then drag the box over your answer choices. So I'm going to copy and paste, and there's another box, so I can put it there. 25 divided by 7 is not 5, but that one is. And so that's that's one thing that you can do as well. So to make one of these text boxes, sorry, I lost my train of thought right there. You are going to insert text box. So that's how you, there's lots of little tools up here, and it may seem like a lot if you're just getting started with Google Slides, but the more you play around, the better you get at it, the better you get at it, number one. And number two, it's really very, very user friendly, and it's very simple, and it's not, I don't want to say simple because that's not true if you are just getting started, but it's very streamlined and it's very user friendly. So it might seem overwhelming at first and seem like a lot of moving parts, but once you get the hang of it, it is very streamlined. And a lot of Google, the Google apps use a lot of the same properties or features, so it kind of helps you navigate when you're switching different apps. So back to creating a text box. Actually, you can either do a text box if you want students to be able to type into it, or a shape. And shape is actually more accurate for this particular, if I'm trying to make a highlighting tool. So you can just insert a rectangle, make it look however you want. And students can also change the shape of it. Then you're going to go to fill the color and choose whichever color you want. You can do custom as well. And I'm actually going to go to custom because I want to show you how to make it transparent. So let me back up a step. And if I wanted to, let's say I want this yellow because I want it to be like a bright yellow, but I also want it to be, to highlight things, I want it to be transparent. So I'm going to go here to custom, and then down here on the transparency, I can change how see-through it is. So if I do like all the way that way, actually I wasn't even clicked on it, that didn't help. If I go all the way this way, then you're not going to be able to, there's going to be no color at all. If I go right in the middle, there it's kind of see-through, so that can be used. So this might, and actually, see how there's an outline? I might not want an outline, so this is the outline tool. So if I don't want an outline, you just click transparent, or maybe I do want an outline and I want it to be that pretty color. Totally up to you. So I'm actually going to delete that. And I am going to copy this one and go back up to my Panda text to show you another way that you could use the highlighting tool. And I could put some of these in there for students to highlight where they found their answers. And students get pretty intuitive with using tools, digital tools. So they might be overwhelmed at first, and you might be overwhelmed with trying to teach them and show them. But they're children, and it's 2020. So for the most part, they will start figuring things out on their own. I'll probably teach you a few things or two as well. So let me see if there's any other little things to show you. I also kind of like to, as much as possible, have the little squares or however little shapes that they're going to use, have them already there, so they just have to drag them over. Here's another example of a really cool thing about the Google Slides is, so for this vocabulary activity, students are writing the group of animal next to its description, and they're drawing a picture of that's supposed to be of, there's a typo, of an example. And so they would write the word. So let's see, spend their entire lives in fresh water. Oh, those are fish. So I've got my, they can change the size if you wanted it to be larger. I'm going to put in the middle. So fish. And then if they want it, instead of, because in the paper version, they would draw a picture, but in this version, I want them to insert a picture. So on the side over here, I put the directions to insert an image. So you're going to click insert, and then anytime you want to add any visual thing inside any graphics or anything like that inside the Google Slide, it's going to be your insert tab. So if you insert an image, you can upload an image from your computer, search the web, and or your photos or URL or your camera if they wanted to take a picture of themselves. But for this one, they're going to search the web. So let's say these are, let's say I want a fish. I want to show a fish. So I'm going to, let's say, most likely if I'm a student, I'm going to find the coolest fish I can. And that one looks pretty cool. So I'm going to add that and insert. And then, of course, it's probably going to be way too big. So I'm going to pull it down, and I can just cover, I can either delete that text box or just cover it up. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to put my picture and resize it so it fits in that little box. And there we go. I've got a fish, I've got a picture, and I've got the description. So I've completed that activity. And then I would just do the same for each one. I really love that because then students also get to use real images instead of clip art or other images. I really like that they're able to add real life pictures in there. And let's see if there's any more real quick that I wanted to show you. The fraction pieces. So this is a part of some of the math in the at-home learning packet. So looking at this one, so it says shade the models to show two equivalent fractions, name the fraction. So obviously these aren't equivalent, but this little shape is so handy. You can, and I put the tips there for the students, drag the yellow points around the circle to shade the model. So if let's say I was like, okay, well, I can make 1/3 here, and then I can make 2/6 here. You're just dragging the little yellow points around. And I put a little picture there to show students. So then I can see that I have 2 equivalent fractions. So that's 2/3. So then I would type that into my boxes, or not 2/3, excuse me. I can do math, I promise. 2/6 and 1/3 are equivalent. So that's pretty handy. And then if you have a rectangle, these, you can drag these over, and then students would, they can drag them until it shows an equivalent fraction. So you could also, or students could also make these pieces transparent so that they could see the pieces better. I did not when I was making this. I wish I would have. But it's those work just as well too. Just to show you what's possible, because there's so many possibilities. So that could be a possibility as well. So it's kind of cool because you have some interactive fraction pieces. And then some pieces are there where you can just copy and paste, and there's usually a tip or to drag these around, but the tips are really important because it kind of helps to guide students what they should do. And this is also a really nice way to do area. So the students just drag the yellow box over the model. And so I'm supposed to show a figure that has an area of 12 square units. So I know 3 times 4 is 12. So I can do 3 times 4. There we go. So there, I can show the area that way. So that's kind of cool too, as an interactive way to do that. And also there, even though Google Docs is a nice way to do writing, you can also have students write directly in Google Slides. All right, so that's Google Slides, just a kind of an overview of how it could look if you're using Google Slides in the classroom or Google Slides activities. Okay, so I'm going to switch on over to Google Docs and just show you one way that you can use Google Docs. Okay, so like I said, Google Docs is like the Word equivalent of Google Apps. So one thing that's really nice about Google Docs is that, or actually, excuse me, I should have said this a long time ago, but one really great feature of all the Google apps is that you're able to collaborate or work on something with other people. So if, like with your team of teachers, if you had lesson plans you wanted to share, or you were all kind of working on unit plans or curriculum, then you could all work in the same document. And that's really helpful because it can possibly save you a lot of time. So one thing that I just want to share with you. So this is a teacher essay that is editable that goes with the text sets. And so it has kind of just the outline on one at the beginning. And then this is also a freebie, and the digital Sharks text set is coming out soon. And then it has just an essay that is editable. So if you had students submit their writing to you in a Google Docs form, or in the form of a Google Doc, not to get confused with Google Forms. One thing that I really like is that you can give students feedback by adding comments. So, for example, like I could say, if I had a student that had a great introduction, very clear, but remember to add transition words throughout your writing. So I can leave comments, and then whichever student owns the Google Doc, they are able to see those as well. And then they can, you'll get a notification that they're resolved. So the other thing that's really great about Google Docs is that you can easily put in links to other things. So you can kind of keep like a running document with all of your, if you have different links for different resources or different, or a set of links that you want to share with other people, that's one way to use it. So, again, you don't need to save. Everything automatically saves. And so it just, depending on your purpose, is going to depend on which Google app that you choose. Okay, so that's all for this video because I'm trying to keep these as short as possible, and I went a little bit longer than I intended to. So if you have any questions or specifics about any Google apps, Google Slides, Google Classroom, or anything, send me an email or a direct message or a message on Facebook or any other way that you can get in touch with me and let me know, and I will be happy to do a quick tutorial for you. All right, I will talk to you soon.